Hi, I'm Andrew McNeese, and this is AM Tactical Review. I got a question for you. Do you think that a firearm is an appropriate tool for intimidation? We're going to unpack that question right now. I want to share with you a lesson that I learned way back in the day. At that time, I happened to be working a job that required me to open carry all the time. One night, I decided to get out of the car and take a little stroll. And while I was walking about, an alert went out over the radio warning us all that someone had shot at a canine officer and fled the scene of a traffic stop. As I walked along, I thought to myself, yeah, it would probably be about my luck to run across a vehicle that matched the suspect description. And as luck would have it, I did. And the person saw me about the same time I saw him. He had his window down and straight away he starts yelling, "Hey man, everything's cool, everything's cool." Thing is, he was fidgeting with something underneath the steering wheel. First thing out of my mouth was, "Show me your hands." Well, he didn't show me his hands. He kept on telling me how cool everything was and kept on fidgeting underneath that steering wheel. So I'm thinking to myself, it's not cool. And I yelled back again, "Show me your hands." He comes back to me saying, "I'm not showing you my hands, man, everything's cool." Now, I was pretty new on the job and I was getting pretty flustered. I drew my weapon and I said, "Show me your hands." Now, it was more like, "Show me your hands." It was a true Barney Fife moment. So the guy paused and he looked at me for a second and he had this expression on his face like, "Seriously?" And then he just kind of threw up his hands and said, "Okay, are you happy now?" Now, with a little bit of investigation, I learned that he was not the person involved in the canine incident. Actually, he was just some guy with psychiatric issues. Now, here's my point. When I pulled my weapon, I had no intention of shooting him. My intention was to intimidate him into submission. And when he didn't respond in stark terror, I didn't know what to do. Now, my takeaways from that were, 1, a firearm is not a reliable tool of intimidation, and 2, never, ever, ever draw your firearm unless you're prepared to shoot. Now, I wasn't untrained. Those facts had been drilled into me through all of my training, but I never truly understood it until that moment. Now, fast forward many, many years, when a real bad guy made some really bad threats and took a run to his vehicle, jumped inside and started rummaging for something on the floor. We were all thinking, he's going for a gun. I drew my weapon and I acquired a perfect headshot. Everything was going in slow motion and there was no shake or waver. He started raising his hand and I remember thinking, if I see a gun, I'm taking the shot. Thankfully, all I had was keys. So what was different between those two events? Well, 1, I didn't draw for intimidation's sake. Secondly, I had already formulated a mental if-then algorithm that predetermined what my actions were going to be. If I saw a weapon, I would shoot. If I didn't, I wouldn't. The decisions had already been made. All I was doing was waiting to see which part of the algorithm was going to apply. To this day, I apply a similar algorithm to my life. If I am faced with an imminent and inescapable life-threatening situation, I'll shoot. If I'm not, then I won't. The decisions are pre-made. All I need to do is watch for verification to see which part of the algorithm applies. For me, and hear me when I say this, this is for me, not necessarily for you, but for me, predetermining what I'm going to do with an if-then algorithm takes a lot of the stress out of an already over-the-top stressful situation. So here's my question for you. Do you think that a firearm is an appropriate tool for intimidation? And second, have you thought out solid if-then rules in advance relative to whether you will shoot or not shoot? I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts and comments. And as always, if you enjoy what you see, enjoy what you hear, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell for notifications when new content comes available. I'm Andrew McNeese, and this is AM Tactical Review.